Alright guys, how's it going? So, this is another waiting for the air conditioning to kick in installment from yours truly here in Japan from my humble English school. So today is the 9th of September. Um, in another 9 days it'll be exactly 6 years since I opened this school by my lonesome, which is quite a milestone. I once thought I would make it till 10 years, but it's not looking that way. I just had a meeting with my mentor on Zoom about an hour ago, and it's looking like as of tomorrow I'm going to start doing some shadow training, more or less, on Slack. I don't probably some of you guys are familiar with it. It's basically like a messaging service. A lot of software development companies use it for internal communications. So I'll be doing that for roughly a month, kind of getting the feel of how tickets are handled and like the general tone of responding to people and what goes on behind the scenes as far as debugging and giving feedback and stuff, which is kind of cool. You know, I can continue to work here and then get a real understanding of the position itself, which is very gracious of my mentor. That's really what you want when you get started in something, is an understanding of the position. And then after that month, so that would be early October, he said we can start talking about the actual dynamics of becoming an employee of his and going from there. So he sounds really very supportive, very positive, happy that I'm interested. He's interested in scaling his program, and he mentioned pretty clearly that he'd like me to be a part of that, you know, assuming I'm around and take to the work and whatnot. So that is really encouraging news. It's a lot of things have happened just in the past week, really, that have really convinced me that it's time to move on. As sad as that might be, I mean, I love the kids, I love like the community, but there's that, you know, that sword over your head of time, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. Do you really still want to be doing this? You know, and the fact is, the more you invest in one way of life, the harder it is to change that as time goes on. I think I've mentioned that before. So I've been lucky the past plus minus 2 years to have time between classes to kind of play with software development and build a, you know, intermediate level of skill, you might say, with understanding it and getting used to it and realizing that I really do enjoy it. So now it's time to really get serious and start doing it professionally, you know, and really take the plunge, because that's what it's going to take if I want to have a future with more options. It's very similar to learning a language, really. You know, if any of you guys speak a second language that you started learning, I should say, because it never really ends. You never really know a language and like that's it, you know, close the book and walk away. If you started learning it in adulthood, anytime like mid-20s onward, you'll know that it takes a lot of effort and a lot of investment of time to really integrate it and become good at it. It's not quite the case in earlier childhood. You know, I've met immigrants back home. One guy was from Russia. He came to the U.S. I think he was 14, maybe 13, but he just went to school, you know, and he said within a year he was just flowing totally fine. He said at that age, he said, you know, you don't even have to think about it; it just comes together. So anyways, you know, as you get busier in life and more invested in, you know, the responsibilities and commitments accumulate, there's also a lot of like neurological, physiological changes that occur where your mode of processing reality, you could say, becomes a little more hardwired. That's not always the case. I mean, recent evidence shows that neuroplasticity persists throughout life. But I think it takes a certain type of personality and a certain lifestyle. Like you have to be really healthy, and I think you have to be practicing a lot of meditation to remain that flexible and absorbent as time goes on, especially with the stresses of family life and whatnot. So my point is that I've kind of invested my time. I'm still kind of on the runway with this, but it's really time to take off. And that's that. You know, a couple of years ago, I was interviewing back and forth with that tech company. At that time, I didn't have any real experience with anything beyond very, very, very basic WordPress stuff. And I was still very much attached to my school. And I was trying like crazy to get this job and still be able to keep my school, which was a mistake. It completely backfired. You know, they picked up on it. They said, yeah, no, to me, basically. And it was a big blow. It meant spending another couple of years, you know, invested in this situation and just the day-to-day grind of it. But now it's really time to jump ship and make it happen. So I suppose based on the feedback after a month's time, excuse me. Yeah. So he'll be introducing me into the special support coach channel in the morning U.S. Pacific time. So that's going to be 10, 11 o'clock at night tonight. And from there, it'll be a month of observation and mild participation, mostly with the other support coaches. And then early October, depending on what the feedback at that point is, I'm going to need to get serious about advertising my school for sale and finding the right person. I don't think selling it is going to be the big problem because it's a crazy deal. I mean, I'm going to lowball it, I think, maybe 20 grand. Walk in, 2-week handoff, and maybe we'll throw a party together. Look at my hair. To just say goodbye to everyone and then hand over the keys, and it's hasta la pasta. Actually, not hasta la pasta. Hasta la pasta means see you pasta. Hasta la vista. It'll be goodbye, you know, sayonara, as they say in these parts. As sad as that is, you know, you can't have your cake and eat it too in life, you know. This is something I think a lot of us struggle with. We want the beautiful body and the awesome career, you know, and the bank account with multiple zeros. But if you're not willing to sacrifice the time and effort to cultivate that, it's not going to happen for you, you know. And a lot of times we hesitate, we get pinned down by doubt, and sometimes it's just laziness, you know, and sometimes it's just the toll that stress and fatigue takes on you, you know. It's totally common for people to just be so worn out they can't think straight, you know. I've been there pretty often since starting my school. It's just you get to a point where you don't remember the last time you had a good night's sleep or a day off or you felt good when you woke up in the morning, and it's just become normal for you, you know. Luckily last week I had some time to rest here and there and kind of recover that feeling of who you are and start being a little more disciplined. And I totally understand, you know, different people are in, you know, very, very different situations, and some people have just so many obstacles that they can't make the kind of progress as quickly as they'd like. But it really comes down to you and what you decide to do. You know, there's no shortage of people overcoming incredible hardship to attain incredible success, you know. So I think selling will be pretty realistic. Right now I've got right around 50 students, which is a pretty good monthly income. Expenses are pretty minimal. I'm gonna have to talk to the landlord about whether or not they want to keep rent at the same rates. I kind of got the family deal, even though I still had to pay from the very beginning, and it was really expensive for me at the time. That element is out of my control, and I kind of have to tread carefully there. But aside from that, I think it would be really ideal to find like an international couple where one partner is a native speaker and the other partner is a resident local Japanese person. It's not very realistic to expect like one foreign guy to be able to do what I do, just because it's unusual for any English teachers to have a really good level of Japanese. They're around, but if they are around, they're usually already crushing it, so to speak. And I don't mean to sound weird about that. It's just that in this area, that seems to be the case. So another option is, I know there's a university student here in town. I think she's year 2. She might be interested in working as a staff member. A lot of it could actually be remote or on the phone. And one more option is there's a mother who comes actually for English lessons. She just started a couple months ago, but her English is actually quite good. She's really improving, and she might be interested in doing some of the administrative work for free English lessons plus, an hourly wage or something. So there are options, and that would actually be really ideal because she's like down home hardcore mom who's really connected to the community, really lovely person, really supportive, and I think she'd have to talk to her husband and stuff, but I think she'd really put her heart and soul into it, and really do a lot for whoever took this place over. We'll have to wait and see, but come hell or high water, it's time for me to move on. The whole issue, of putting your heart and soul into things, I think it's really important. It really helps you in the end, if you really do approach your work with a sense of dignity and responsibility, and you take it seriously, and you're always thinking of ways, to improve the system and, create more value and so on and so forth. And it's regrettable, but I can't say exactly when it started, probably within the past 2 years. I felt that kind of fire slowly dimming inside. I feel like I'd rather be doing something else. So that's another sign. We have to be honest with ourselves. I met one guy back in Seattle years ago, really weird guy. He ran a restaurant and he was looking for a delivery driver. This was like, I think late 2004, quite a while ago now. And I interviewed with him, and this is one of the most bizarre interviews. I just sat with him at this table and just talked. And anyways, one thing he said was he believes every business has a life cycle, where there's a time to start it and put everything into it, and then there's a time to get out of it. And I didn't really understand it at the time. I thought like, well, if you've got this business and you're making money, why would you want to get rid of it, but now I understand. I think it's there's a certain personality type, and you thrive off of not necessarily risk, but the feeling of being challenged and engaged. It fuels you and it makes you want to do better, but once things start becoming easy, you start to get bored, you start to slip up, there's this kind of threat of potentially losing gratitude and not taking it seriously. So I think that's what he might have been saying, is that when you start to feel like it's not what it was, maybe that's a good time to kind of look around and pursue something else. So I really feel like that's where I am, but I've got to be patient. Very patient, at least for the next month or so. I've really got to play it cool and just day to day. Don't get too excited, basically. And I have to be very skillful about the handoff as well. I really want to find the right person or people to take it over, so that it can continue in a way that it has. Simple value, good service, trust, communication, all that. I'm worried there might be just some, for lack of I don't want to say it. There are certain personality types who are just completely in the clouds when it comes to business and people, and I guess just haven't grown up yet. So ideally, I'll be able to choose, I don't know, from at least 3, 4, 5 potential buyers, and I might maybe offer like a highest bidder approach, or on the contrary, maybe some kind of financing plan, because it could be the case that there's someone out there who just would die to have this, but they can't get the loan or something. So I might do like I don't know, some percent down plus a year with no payments, and then after that year you pay me the rest, or I talk to the landlord and they take away the keys. I would prefer just one lump sum. That's the cleanest way to do it. And hopefully, whoever was interested in buying it would be able to qualify for a loan and stuff, and there wouldn't be any funny business. So we'll have to wait and see. So much of life and business, as I've learned, is just kind of continuing on the, I don't know about the straight and narrow, but just doing what you have to do each day and not getting too hung up in projecting yourself into the future, and then having the presence of mind when opportunities arise to handle them well. That's all you can do. So anyways, that's it for now. I suppose I'll post an update here in the near future. Have to see how things go. So anyways, until next time.